You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Happy Saturday night, and it was a happy Saturday night for your Michigan Wolverines advancing to the Sweet 16. It is happening. It's super exciting. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. I am your man on the ground in Ann Arbor. I'm not in Indianapolis because I am sticking back for spring football. But nonetheless, huge upset for Michigan over Tennessee. We are going to break it down here tonight. A little late, but we're still doing it. Anyway, Michigan wins 76-68. Huge game for Hunter Dickinson, Eli Brooks, Moussa Diabate, and lots going on. And it started early, and I think that's the thing that's exciting. I think when Michigan hits back-to-back threes, start the game out 6-0. I mean, chances are they're going to, regardless of what happens, they know that they can score, right? They know that they've got the confidence to be able to do it. I think one of the great things, obviously, too, is that not just that they started out that way, but that there's two things about it. Number one, they did it against the number 2 defense in the country, according to KenPom. Number two, they defensively, because in my 5 takeaways almost every single week, or every single game rather, it's Michigan's poor perimeter defense. Not this time. 2 of 18, Tennessee was really, really struggled. 1 from Kennedy Chandler, 1 from Santiago Vescovi. Really phenomenal game on the perimeter. Defensively, pretty great just in general. Tennessee had, because of all the turnovers, they got 20 points off of turnovers. They got 67 shots compared to Michigan's 54. But Michigan held them to 28 attempts, or makes rather. Michigan held them to 41% total, whereas Michigan shot 50% from the floor. Michigan 6 of 16, 37.5%, hit 80% of the free throws. For a minute, it kind of started feeling like the free throws were going to be something that was going to hurt the Wolverines at some point, because it was like missing some really important ones, but then, a mixture of making them down the stretch, which was huge, hitting those down the stretch. Wow, I just totally lost my train of thought. Hitting the free throws down the stretch, as well as clamping down defensively. That's what it was. Going to that zone defense was huge, and it really paid dividends. Some of the other things that I really liked about this game was Michigan getting 36 rebounds to Tennessee's 33. Because here's the thing, going into this game, if you looked at everything, field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, I'm not sure about free throws, assists, forcing turnovers, blocks, steals, basically you name it, Tennessee was better than Michigan going into this game. But that's why they play games for a reason, why they're not played on paper. Michigan goes from alternating wins and losses they say technically they still did, because after the game, Hunter Dickinson said they scrimmaged against their team managers and lost. I think that they said they lost. I don't know. And that was, I think it was implied, which got them their loss out of the way, and then they were able to come in and win this game. But this was a game that it felt like for the majority of the game, Michigan was the better team, even when Tennessee was really starting to pull away. But that's the thing about this Michigan team, right? You never kind of really know. And some of the points that I had talked about this morning on Knoxville radio was there was a couple different things that this team needed. It needed Hunter and Eli to both have big games. They also needed one or the other of Caleb Houston and Moussa Diabate to have a big game. Well, they got it from Diabate. He finished with 13 points, but they didn't get any points from Caleb Houston. And then I said also the bench has to play a factor. And while it took forever, Terrence Williams was the one who came in down the stretch and really played that factor. But still that they struggled obviously to stop Kennedy Chandler. Josiah Jordan-James also had a big game, but otherwise that's their only two in double digits. Michigan had 3 guys in double digits, and obviously Terrence Williams was close. Hunter Dickinson with a double-double with 11 rebounds. But yeah, Michigan out-rebounded them as well, and that was that and assists and some of those things. Like they were even, and then all of a sudden you started seeing Tennessee's rebounds and assists surpass Michigan's, especially as Michigan's turnovers mounted. I mean, how often do you expect to win a game when you lose the I mean, they broke even on assist to turnover ratio 15-15, but when you look at Tennessee, they were like just over 2 because they had 15 assists and 7 turnovers, and yet Michigan found a way to get this win. So that is everything that you want. If you remember, I was asked on the mailbag, what would I consider this to be a success as far as the season? I said recalibrating and everything. If Michigan makes it to the Sweet 16, everything from there is gravy. Well, guess what? Michigan is Sweet 16 bound for the 5th straight year, 7th year out of 10. It's I mean, this is a team that come the tournament, they're going to find a way apparently. And I don't think that outside of Ann Arbor, there were a lot of people that really thought that the Wolverines were going to win this game. I picked Michigan to win. Well, I picked Michigan to win the game essentially, but I also on Vols Wire, they asked me, I said, it all depends on what Michigan shows up. That it's this score, and I think I was pretty close to the score prediction. I said, or it's Tennessee wins if Michigan doesn't get everything going the way that it ended up doing. All right, so let's move on. We've got a couple other things to talk about with the game, and then obviously we're going to have our eyes open towards that Sunday matchup between Villanova and Ohio State. Could Michigan play Ohio State for a 3rd time? That would be interesting on a neutral court in San Antonio. Which team would reign supreme? But man, I love March Madness and I love those brackets, but I can't remember the last time I actually went deep or even won any money. Hedging my bets this year with StatHero's NCAA Pick'em contests. StatHero's NCAA single game pick'em pits the star players against each other, an amazing hybrid between fantasy and sports gambling. Take back control from those handicappers that always seem to have the advantage. Start focusing on the players you know best with a gameplay that doesn't rely on big spreads, long odds, or funky props. StatHero gives you the advantage, resulting in their gamers winning 4 times more often. Why? Because StatHero eliminates the mystery about who or what you are going up against. In addition to their pick'em games, they also have dozens of lineups you can comb through to take on head-to-head. They simply post sets of players for you to take on with sets of players you choose. StatHero is the easiest and fastest way to get your sports action fix. The simple, sleek gameplay will have you playing in minutes. This is what daily fantasy was meant to be. So sign up for free right now. Go to stathero.com/lockedon. That's stathero.com/lockedon with the promo code lockedon for a 100% deposit match. stathero.com/lockedon. Promo code lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Also want to tell you a little something about Built Bar. Y'all know I love Built Bar. It is crucial now that I am working towards my goals. That's become even more of a staple in my weight loss journey. I'm down 10 pounds, 2.5 weeks into to me doing this, and I've had quite a few Built Bars. When I'm hungry, sometimes as meal replacements, I have 2 at a time. Guess what? If I do that, it's like 260 calories, 40 grams of protein, everything that I want and need. And guess what? They're delicious. They taste like a candy bar. Right now, I've got the white chocolate cookies and cream upstairs. Those are my favorite at the moment that I have. Coconut brownie chunk is my personal favorite. Peanut butter brownie is also, that's right up there. I alternate between which ones I like more. But anyway, don't delay. Go to built.com. Use the promo code LOCKED15. That's to get 50% off your next order. It's built.com. Promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off of your next order of Built Bar. All right, so there was some tertiary things that happened after the game that were poignant, and it's kind of cool, and we got to talk about them, of course. I think that the big one was, of course, the which was shown on the broadcast on CBS right afterwards, was Kennedy being absolutely despondent after the game and he's crying in Juwan Howard's arms. And what a sight. What a reversal, when you go from everything that was the aftermath of the Wisconsin game and, there's a lot of the questioning about Juwan as a person and all of those types of things. Just suddenly see an opposing player, Kennedy Chandler, crying in Juwan Howard's arms. Now, there were some funny memes that I saw out there. Not going to lie, that referenced the Wisconsin thing. I think my favorite one was the one where someone said, this was in response to him punching him. Okay, I think we can all say this type of thing in good fun. But nonetheless, I mean, it is... not just optics-wise. It certainly optics-wise looks awesome. But, this is who Juwan Howard is. I've had a lot of interactions with Juwan outside of Chrysler, and he really is, and I've told you about this, he's just a great dude. That's sportsmanship on display. So I think the ironic thing is I saw a Washington Post reporter say, this is why you don't eliminate the handshake line. The funny thing about that is, the irony is the talk of eliminating the handshake line was due to something that happened with Juwan Howard. And here he is consoling another team's player. Now, of course, Michigan recruited him really hard, arguably finished number 2 for Chandler. But Chandler had nothing but great things to say about Juwan, and in the aftermath said, I absolutely love him. And, it's of course, you put in that much work, you're the hot team, you win the SEC tournament. People think that you're getting snubbed by being a 3 seed rather than a 2 seed. Things like that. The way that Tennessee's trajectory was going is kind of reminiscent of 2013 Michigan Trey Burke team, right? They were a 3 seed, although they, I think, kind of limped a little bit into the tournament before, going in and playing really well. But at the same time, it's kind of similar. So I think that, if you're in his shoes and you're playing an 11 seed, you feel like, yeah, this is destiny. We got to go out and we got to do this. And it didn't happen. So really poignant to see that image. Not as equally, but maybe as equally, was the celebration that Juwan had, I'm assuming after that, maybe it was before, I think it was after that, with Chris Webber and Ray Jackson. What makes that even more particularly poignant is that while we have seen Chris Webber partake in some football game stuff, right, we haven't seen him at basketball. Now, I know he's been at basketball things, but in terms of the NCAA tournament in the past, I remember seeing different games, at least one game in which he was present, but it's a different thing entirely to see him and another Fab Five member and Juwan Howard all celebrating in the aftermath. So the great thing on top of all of that is just, again, the post-game coverage, and they're talking about this great image of Juwan and then the Fab Five. And saying, Charles Barkley saying that, and this might not be a compliment, but he's saying the 2 Fab Five national championship losses are arguably the 2 most historically well-known losses in college basketball, especially in the tournament. But it really just puts the spotlight that much more on Michigan. And I think that's a great thing, right? I obviously a lot of these kids, none of these kids were alive when the Fab Five played. I certainly was, and I remember jumping around on one ankle because I had sprained my other one watching the Fab Five the first year and in the NCAA tournament. So it's I'm pretty sure it was a Sunday. I think I remember getting home from church and just going nuts in my house. And then I remember crying after the North Carolina, after the Chris Webber timeout. Chris Webber's also another really good dude. So it's really poignant to have those different images shown afterwards, on top of the fact that Michigan advances to the Sweet 16, keeping that streak, and making good a little bit on everything that happened previous to this, especially the Big Ten tournament. You don't win the Big Ten tournament, you get out to a big deficit against Colorado State, things don't feel very good. take things, as Joanne always says, one game at a time, and you've got a shot, right? So, yeah. All right. Let's move on. We'll just do a couple more things. Keep this short and sweet since this is several hours after post-game reaction. But anyway, like, this episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. I don't know why I said anyway, but anyway. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning? Is your Odyssey an LX or an EX? And wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing only the brand and their warehouse happens to carry. Almost reverted to the old one. Old script. You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. I know I have. I've saved thousands when I had my beater Cadillac. It wasn't supposed to be a beater. It was supposed to be super nice, super new. Didn't work out that way. Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for 20 years. Rock Auto prices are always reliably low for every customer. They have everything you could ever need, from brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, even new carpet. So go to rockauto.com right now. See all the parts available for your car or truck, right locked on under How Did You Hear About Us box so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. All right. So, a couple things here. Need to check something. All right, can't do it there. All right. So I want to look at the potential path for Michigan here. Who does Michigan get to potentially face here? So, first of all, Wolverines are now, they were, I believe, 29th. They moved up a spot to 28th. They just beat who was the number 7, now the number 8 in Ken Palm, that is, in Tennessee. So Tennessee goes down. Next opponent will either be number 12 Villanova, who has the number 8 offense and 29 defense. Again, Michigan has the 19th and 74th by comparison. Or Ohio State, who Michigan is actually, even despite being a 7 seed, Michigan being 11 seed, Ohio State is actually ranked 2 spots on Ken Palm lower than Michigan. 13th best offense, 105th ranked defense. Obviously, you'd rather play Ohio State, at least as long as you can beat the Buckeyes. Last thing you want is to have to deal with them crowing if Michigan managed to lose that game. So, anyhow, those are the immediate potential teams that they would face. So then from there, so say Michigan gets ahead of whoever that is, and we will know after tomorrow. We still are waiting on either Arizona, TCU, Houston, or Illinois. Obviously, Michigan probably doesn't want to face Illinois again, but I mean, I think you'd rather face Illinois than Arizona. But at the same time, it's one of those things where Michigan's played Illinois close from time to time. And obviously, they came dangerously close to getting the win in Ann Arbor. Didn't end up going that way. So that's what it would take to get to the Final Four. So I'd like Michigan's chances about if they played Ohio State. Villanova, I'm not so sure. So, not saying that you want to root for Ohio State. Ohio State had what looked like a halftime score as the final against Loyola Chicago. So, it will be interesting to see, because if it's Michigan-Ohio State, yet again, NCAA Tournament, I mean, how huge would that be as far as a matchup? And if Michigan beats Ohio State, then it gets really interesting, especially if Arizona doesn't end up being the one to emerge from the Sweet 16. I would imagine Arizona is going to beat TCU. Weirder things have happened, of course. We've already seen a number 1 go down in Baylor. And obviously we just saw a 8 seed spread go down in Michigan, Tennessee. Of course, there's others that have over the course of this tournament. And like I said, a 8 seed North Carolina even beat Baylor. So an 8 seed beating a number 1 seed, not out of the realm of possibility. We've also saw Kentucky go down to St. Peter's last night, caught the end of that game. That was super exciting. So I like Michigan's chances against Ohio State. So you almost have to root for Ohio State to beat Villanova, as dirty as that might feel. As far as the rest of those teams that Michigan would potentially face, Arizona, Illinois, Houston, or TCU. So Arizona's number 4 team on KenPom. Let's see here. Illinois is obviously 7, is pretty high, 17. And then Houston is number 3. You don't want any part of Houston. But Houston, Illinois, that's going to be a pretty wild game. They've got a really good offense and defense, 10 and 11. And I don't think that covered it. I think I missed one. So we're kind of scatterbrained. Okay, TCU. TCU is ranked 1 ahead of Michigan. So kind of hope for TCU to figure out a way. Right? So anyhow, that's the rest of it. That's the rest of the bracket for Michigan, at least on this side. Certainly, it didn't feel like it was within a realm of possibility. Of course, some dominoes have to fall the right way, and it might feel somewhat daunting, but we've seen it even like the last time Michigan went to the national championship game, 2018. Some dominoes fell the right way. I mean, I thought that Michigan team was awesome anyway, but some dominoes also fell to really help the Wolverines out. So it will be interesting to see where this team goes with everything now that we get to watch them go to the Sweet 16. All right, I'm rambling, so that's going to do it because it's late and what have you. But all right, for anyone that's checking us out on YouTube, thank you for watching. If you're a regular listener, thank you for listening. We will talk to you again soon. I delayed the mailbag. I was going to try to do it today, did not get a chance. But the mailbag that was going to go on Friday, that will be a Sunday deal. So we'll do that Sunday, and then we'll start the week anew. Anyway, that's it. Thank you for watching and or listening. Peace.